The true reason for the Celtics' offensive dominance is painfully obvious, but teams can't help but fall into the trap. The Utah Jazz were recently in town, and before the game, Jazz coach Will Hardy spoke about Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Jay King of The Athletic asked about how difficult it is deciding whether or not to guard Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, or guard the open guys on the three-point line. And Will Hardy kept it real.
There's not a lot of good choices.
See, the Celtics take more threes than any team in NBA history, but it's not about how many threes they're taking, it's about the guys who are taking the threes. The Celtics only generate the 5th most wide open threes per game. They're number 1 in open threes, but there's context that's important here. See, the 4 teams above them in wide open threes per game are the Bulls, Thunder, Grizzlies, and Pacers. And while some of the guys on those teams who are taking those shots are good shooters, a lot of them are the type of guys who teams are okay shooting some shots. Guys like Patrick Williams on the Bulls, or Lou Dort on the Thunder. Even Ja Morant on the Grizzlies, who's an all-star but not having the best year from 3, and teams would rather him shoot than drive. But on the Celtics, the guys who are getting the most wide open threes per game are Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, and Al Horford. And right behind them are Kristaps Porzingis, Drew Holiday, and Sam Hauser. Not only are Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown such a threat on drives that teams have to help over and guard them, but they also built a lineup with elite three-point shooters so they can punish those game plans. Again, it sounds so obvious when you think about it, but teams just can't adjust. In the NBA, wide open threes are defined as when the closest defender is 6+ feet away, and those 6 Celtics role players combined to average 20.7 wide open threes per game. Derek White and Peyton Pritchard alone average 8.3 by themselves. No matter the situation, teams are continuing to help on Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum drives instead of just staying home. During the 2024 NBA Finals, this is how the Celtics beat the Mavs. They played the defense that teams should be playing to beat them, but they can't help themselves. Luka Doncic continuously drew what he believed to be mismatches, but the Celtics just live with those one-on-one matchups. But other teams won't do that, and the situations these lead to are absolutely insane. Look at a recent game against the Blazers. Derek White and Peyton Pritchard were on fire from 3, and yet the Blazers were still helping on Jaylen Brown possessions, leaving Pritchard and Derek White wide open to hit more shots. They finished with 19 threes combined. Then earlier this season, Kristaps Porzingis ended up hitting 8 threes against Chicago, and yet late in the game, the Bulls were still helping off of him to guard Jason Tatum. And he wasn't even driving yet. They just doubled him when he had the ball. The space that Tatum and Brown create for their teammates by just being Tatum and Brown is absolutely absurd. So just stop helping on Tatum and Brown, right? Well, unfortunately for other teams, Tatum and Brown are also elite isolation scorers. Don't send help on Jaylen Brown, he'll get to the mid-range, rise up, and get a bucket. If you don't help on Jason Tatum, he'll step back and hit a 3 in your face. And sometimes, if you don't help on either of them, they'll just drive right by you. And at that point, you're forced to send help. But guess who's waiting for the ball in the corner? It's just an impossible situation because the Celtics have 2 of the best scoring wings in the league. Again, the explanation sounds painfully simple, and that's because it is. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have the ball, teams are going to send pressure. But if it's truly that simple, if the Celtics offense truly revolves around Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown drawing help, why has nothing changed?